This is SPL Express, the show that you need to watch ahead of what's going to be a massive weekend in the Singapore Premier League. We have Roshan and Abhi here, as always, and before we get his thoughts, let's remind you just why this weekend is so important. And that's because of what happened over match week 25. 𝗠𝗔𝗦𝗦𝗡 United with a convincing win over the Young Lions, the Eastern Derby ending in a stalemate, but the result that stole the headlines, Balestier Khalsa beating defending champions Lion City Sailors at a rain-soaked Toa Payoh Stadium 5-3 on Sunday. On that very evening, Albrechts too dropped points after they were held by Hougang United. And that meant that Albrechts still remained top of the league after the weekend, now 4 points clear of the Sailors. It's the biggest lead they've had over the Sailors all season. And in that race for top 4, 𝗠𝗔𝗦𝗡 leading the way on 36 points, with Geylang and Hougang breathing down their necks. So a look at the upcoming fixtures this weekend, you can see why everyone's excited about it. The Lion City Sailors hosting Albrechts on Friday evening to kick off the SPL weekend. A win for Albrechts would see them clinch their 5th SPL crown, and what a way to do it. It'll be on their defending champs' home turf. So it's a massive weekend in the SPL, Roshan. We expected this game to be important, but were we expecting it to pan out the way it has?
No, I don't think so. I thought it was going to be a lot tighter, I think, heading into the closing stages of the campaign, that Albrechts have a nice cushion now, and psychologically I think it gives them a big advantage. It takes a lot of pressure off their shoulders because it is essentially must-win for the Lion City Sailors. Of course, mathematically they can still draw, but it would be really out of their hands in that sense. You know, they need Albrechts Negata to sort of drop points in the next 2 matches, and then for themselves to go on and win the next 2 games to take over. So all the pressure is on the Lion City Sailors because of the poor run of results that we've had in recent weeks.
Let's talk about the poor run of results and how they've ended up here. And this has coincided with the appointment of Lalich as interim coach. And if you have a look at his stats, there are 6 games under him. They won the first 3 emphatically, and it's been all downhill from there.
Yes, it has been downhill from there. I mean, I think when you look back to that game against Hougang where they won by 9 goals to 4, and even then at the end of the game, Lalich I think said that he wasn't too pleased with the level of defending, that they conceded 4 goals and they sort of had this bit of a drop-off in concentration levels, and that has really sort of come back to bite them in the next 3 matches in the SPL. The goals conceded, I think it's 10 goals conceded in the last 3 games, and they've only scored 5. So for all of the talk of wanting to be a side who go out and attack and give the fans attacking football and football that's nice to watch, they still need to get the results to go along with that, and that hasn't been the case at all, because you look at the goals scored as well. It's just 5 goals scored in the last 3 games. So they've conceded a lot, they've not been able to put their chances away, and you look at some of the mistakes as well. It's really uncharacteristic for a side who have so many international players in that team. And yes, you could say the likes of Pedro missing from defense has made a huge impact. It certainly has, because it doesn't look like there's any sort of real leadership, any sort of real structure, something holding the team like that together in that back line. You can see how important he's been to the side this season. The fact that he's out now and is so open. Diego Lopez is struggling with injury concerns as well. Kim Shinuk has also had an issue. Lestienne recently came back into the side, but still, even without some of those players, you would like to think that you have Singapore internationals, experienced players who can step up to the plate and fill in. That really hasn't been the case, and it's a strange one. I can't quite put my finger on what exactly is going wrong there, but the confidence looks like an all-time low at the moment at the Lion City Sailors, and he's got a huge job on his hands, Lalich, to sort of turn this around and basically give the players a real kick up the backside for this Friday.
We talk about the defensive mistakes. Defensively, there are problems for them, because this week there's no Pedro, as you mentioned, and Haris Harun is going to be suspended as well.
Yeah.
How big a blow, and defensively, how do you think they have to line up?
You look at defensively, they don't have the numbers there in terms of the players. I mean, you're thinking Amirul will probably start, and maybe Anu will have to do a job in central defence, which we've seen him play when at times when Lalich has gone with a back 3. We've seen Anu drop into central defence. We've seen Anu be sort of experimented with as part of a back 3 with the national team as well. So I'm guessing he's going to have to just drop in and do a job there. But there's a real lack of organisation and key players. You know, Haris and Pedro were the starting central defenders for them, and now both of them are out of the side. So that's going to be an area where Albrechts will really look to try and hurt them, really look to try and punish them, especially with Ilhan playing as that focal point, look to try and pin himself against those 2 defenders. And physically, Ilhan has, I think, got one up against them. You know, I think previously when Pedro was there, Ilhan found it a little bit difficult to sort of really make a big impact in the game. But now I think he's got a much better chance. And you have Tanaka just drifting in from that left half space as well, and he's so strong in the air. and that's something they're going to have to be wary of, especially with Idetsu's quality of crossing even from deeper areas.
So you spoke about Ilhad, Tanaka and Idetsu, but one player who's really caught the eye in recent weeks for Albrechts is Tadanari Lee, and he's finally showing what he can bring to this team.
Yeah, he is, and he's been big for them over the last few weeks. When he's come into the side, he's helped to change matches for them. I think back again to that 3-all draw against Hougang, where Albrechts really weren't playing well. Tadanari Lee comes in and suddenly there's a spark in the team, and he helps them to sort of recover and at least get a point out of that one. Certainly helped to improve their performance. And you think about the game against Young Lions, they had to come from behind. Tadanari Lee gets 2 goals and an important 3 points for them in the title race. And then again, last time out against Hougang, they were struggling to finish off their opportunities. They created lots of chances, Albrechts, and that's the positive, but they struggled a little bit to finish off those chances in that game. And Tadanari Lee came up with a big goal in that one. And again, it's his experience, his big game experience. This is a guy that, in case you weren't aware of, has won the Asian Cup in 2011. He's won the AFC Champions League. He's won J1. He's won titles pretty much in most places that he's been. So he's been there, done that. He's got all that experience, and it's a huge plus to a young Albrechts Niigata side, where the pressure of a title race might have gotten to them in these closing stages, but he has stepped up there, and along with Yoshinaga on the bench.
So let's talk about Yoshinaga as well. He's experienced. He's won the title. He's done this twice already, as compared to his counterpart Lalic, who was really unproven at this level. What does Yoshinaga bring, or what do you think he's going to say to his team ahead of this weekend?
I think approach it the same way they've been approaching most of their games this season, which is to really go out and try and hurt this Lion City Sailors side. He will know that their confidence levels aren't great with the Sailors, so don't allow them to sort of build any sort of momentum, any kind of rhythm, get stuck into their faces, press high up against them, put them under pressure, especially that back line we're talking about. It's sort of a makeshift back line in a sense. Really put that Lion City Sailors team under pressure and play on the front foot, be aggressive, and play with good intensity and a tempo. And there's a chance here for them to go out and win the title. What an opportunity this is, right? To essentially kill it off in this game. And I think that should be motivation enough for the players to go out there and do the job.
Well, what a game we've got on hand. The Lion City Sailors up against Albrechts Niigata. That is our feature game of the week. That's coming to you live on Friday. Coverage begins from 7:15 p.m. with John Dykes and Roshan. So all eyes will be on that clash at the Jalan Besar Stadium on Friday, but over the weekend we have some very important games in what's going to be a tense race for a top 4 finish. Tanjong Pagar, Geylang International and Hougang United all in with a chance to finish in the top 4. Let's have a look at the run-in in the final 3 games. And Roshan, what stands out for you, or which team has the easier run-in?
Well, looking at the fixtures there, you got Hougang United, I think, who have the easier run-in of the 3 sides that we're looking at here. I mean, they got Young Lions and Balestier Khalsa to come in the final 2 matches of the season. Yes, I know Balestier Khalsa have beaten Hougang by 6 goals to 1. So we've got to be wary of playing these games out on paper. But on paper, in terms of the fixtures, it does look like Hougang have got the more straightforward of the matches coming up. That game against Tampines Rovers, though, is going to be huge for the Cheetahs. Whereas for Geylang and Tanjong Pagar, you mean the game that they're playing against each other is going to be so important in terms of who has that sort of platform to then push on in the final 2 matches of the campaign.
So let's talk about Hougang and Tampines. Roshan, quickly, who's going to be key, or what's going to be the key area for Hougang in this game?
I think for Hougang, the key player for me is going to be Krajcek. I think he's been the outstanding player for them. I have to give a mention to Shawal as well. I think he's also been fantastic with the goals that he scored for them. But Krajcek has really sort of driven the game for them in those midfield positions, and I expect him to be the one who's looking to try and get on the ball a lot for them in midfield, especially with Kaishu Yamazaki not in the side anymore. I think Krajcek really gives them a lot of energy to get box to box. He can play on the left hand side as well, and he's been very good at these link up plays with the likes of Bortoluzo in those attacking areas, give and goes, just energy to get in behind opposition defenses. So he's going to be an important player for me in this one.
And let's talk about Geylang and Tanjong Pagar, because that is going to be a crucial game. And the result is going to determine, who's going to get ahead in this top 4 race. So which area do you think is going to be the most interesting in this matchup?
I think this game is the areas that I'm looking at, I would say, is obviously for Tanjong Pagar, I'm looking at Ryo Nishiguchi, right? And he's the big goal threat for them in the SPL this season, far and away their best goal scorer. And there's such a huge gap in terms of the goals that he scored and whoever's next on the list in goals scored for Tanjong Pagar. So he's going to be the key one to sort of stop. And then those set-piece situations, I feel Tanjong Pagar can be very strong. Rishuto is great in the air aerially. He's very dominant. So that's something Geylang are going to have to keep an eye out on as well. For Geylang, You think of Zuzul coming back into the side. I feel that when he's there, he really sort of stretches the opposition because he's the player who can pin the opposition central defenders in that way, and that gives Bezecourt that freedom to play in that sort of free role where he's allowed to roam out to the right, out to the left, drop into deeper areas at times, and be that catalyst for Geylang getting forward, especially with Huzaifa missing from midfield. You know, Tezuka's the distributor for them in those positions, and Huzaifa feels more like that controller. So without Huzaifa, and I think Bezecourt plays an even more of an important role. The fact that he's got those goals and assists in the second half of the campaign, he's already got 3 goals against Tanjung Pagar this season already. So those are going to be those key areas to keep a lookout for in this one.
So some very interesting games coming your way. Let's just have a recap of the fixtures for this weekend. So Hougang United entertain Tampines Rovers. That's on Saturday. Coverage begins from 5:20 p.m. And simultaneously, the Young Lions entertain Balestier Khalsa, who will be looking to push on after that encouraging win against the Sailors last weekend. And on Sunday, Geylang International face Tanjong Pagar United in a game that's going to be pivotal in the race for the top 4. So lots of exciting football action coming away. Don't forget, Albrechts can clinch the title this weekend. All the matches are live on our YouTube channel. We'll see you over the weekend.